Yes, there's the first.
This
Then it's All Souls Day. It's the right day. It's All Souls.
this séance was recorded on the 2nd of November 1988. Medium on the way out, Leslie Flint.
I'm very interested. I've always been interested. And I want you to know that an awful lot has been happening here tonight which you're not aware of. But I send you my greetings and blessings, and I want you to know that I'm here. I have always been interested in this subject, and indeed I was instrumental in bringing about, I think, quite a lot of philosophy into the movement. But that is all in the past. I send you my blessings, and I want you to know that a lot has been happening here tonight, as your medium has quite rightly said. But, don't be disappointed when you don't get, as it were, a positive response from us. But there's an awful lot here, and I send you my love and my greetings. God bless you.
Who are you?
It doesn't matter really who I am, but you must know I am Winifred Moyes.
There you go. Goodness me. Winifred Moyes.
She comes through quite a bit with Tony.
That's it's one of the first mediums I ever heard. And that goes back, 60 years now. Well, it must be. Remarkable for a woman. When she's in trance, a guide used to come through and give a marvellous oration, and in a public hall, with her eyes firmly closed, she'd walk all round the place, up the aisle and back onto the platform, and some of the halls are very tricky, believe me. And she'd obviously never been to some of those halls before. She was quite a character. Her guide was quite remarkable. That's the thing of the past, all that. We used to go to the church and you get wonderful deep trance mediums. I don't know what's happened to the movement.
I think there are too many distractions in this.
What?
Too many distractions these days.
No.
Television for one thing.
Yes, that's all very true, I know, but I see Winifred Moyes, she was of the 20s and 30s, and I first heard her in the late 20s, and I was very impressed. But then there were so many then. There really were.
I'm getting cold.
It's a bit of charm going round the room.
Come on, Michael. One of those evenings, I guess.
Marshall, saying good night.
Is that?
That's how we know.
Oh,
Somebody said, how do we know, haven't they?
well.
They're finished with us for this week.
You come here under guidance of certain souls who are anxious on your behalf to give from time to time certain things which we feel could be of interest and help to people on your side of life who are uncertain and unsure of this truth that we continue to live after what you refer to as death. I am only one of many, many, many souls here who have decided to help where possible, if not necessarily, to come and speak to you.
I have long been interested in this medium, and many years, as you term time, I would come occasionally, but of course I have my own work to do in a different way, but that does not alter my interest in the instrument over the many years of the work that has been done. It is a long time ago, when he was very young, that I first put in what you call the appearance. But I knew there were others, perhaps even more capable than myself, to help him develop the gift of the Spirit. Of course, in those early years, it was before we were able to manifest in the way which has become customary. And sometimes now, I understand, because of circumstances and the continuation of the physical body changing, there will be times when we will come and speak through the instrument's physical body. This is to protect the instrument, and also, where possible, to preserve, for at least some time we hope yet, that he might be able to continue. But we must not have illusions. We must be patient with each other, we on this side and you on yours. I am not saying there will not be attempts at experimentation. Indeed, I think you will be surprised and perhaps a little puzzled that we should do certain things which we may hope yet to do before the power of the instrument collapses altogether, which we hope may be prevented. But you have been asked and requested to experiment. We still feel not necessarily just the medium's power, but your combined energy, your combined physical and psychic force may make possible certain things which by their very nature will be not only interesting to each one of you, but perhaps to others who are not present. Of course we shall continue to come and speak, either in one way or the other. But we feel the medium's powers will fluctuate more and more now. And of course we have requested for a long period of time that he should do less and less. And if he is sensible, and we will do all we can, of course, to help him, we can continue, we hope, for a long time, we hope, yet to come. But we must be sensible. We have suggested, with your power, with your energy, we may be able not only to build or preserve temporarily something which could be unique. We have promised, well, I say we have promised, we have suggested the possibility of materialization. We have also suggested in this room you could take photographs. The ectoplasm that is circulating among you here is extraordinary. It is quite extraordinary. And we do believe that this energy, this power, could be made manifest in a way that we hope could be photographed. Now don't think I am making extravagant claims. I know when you first came together, it was not altogether the object of your coming. And it is true that we want to uplift you, we want to discuss things with you, we want to answer your questions where possible in regard to particularly life in the realm of the spirits. But it would be perhaps wrong to ignore the possibility of that power which you bring together as a group if we did not at least make an attempt at times when possible to do something else. I know you may say, well, that is very interesting and we are happy to cooperate, but that is not really the object of our gathering together. But we must remember there are many, many things which can be brought about where there is sincerity of purpose, where there is the desire to serve and to forget self in loving service. Indeed, as you have come together with that feeling and emotion in your hearts. But we are asking you, at least I am asking you, to consider seriously taking pictures. At first, there will be perhaps very little recorded, but I am convinced that you can receive extraordinary things with the power that is generated here. And there are many ways in which we can bring conviction. Not that you need conviction, any of you here, but outside. All right, sometimes people will say, that we weren't there. We didn't see what went on. And you will have those who will be, of course, skeptical. But we're all here together to be of service, one to the other. And the love that you generate and the patience that you have among you for the things that are truly of the Spirit. There have been times when you come here and nothing happened, and naturally it is a disappointment. But this is how it must be. I mean, if we cannot speak separate from the medium, and we have to speak as I am speaking through the medium, you will understand. This would not perhaps be a wise thing if the medium was sitting under normal or ordinary circumstances for people who are under the impression, rightly so, that the mediumship is separate from the medium, what you refer to as the direct voice. But this in itself is a misnomer. What I am trying to say here is you can never completely keep out, to some extent at least, the medium. There is a separate mediumship as such for what it is, but it is always linked with the medium. Sometimes the link with the medium may be stronger than another time, and there are rare occasions when we can be completely and absolutely separate from the instrument that is being used. But in a way it is not important, I suppose, what method is used to link up and connect with you, dear friends. What is important is what we are able to do or achieve together in love and in service. You know, there are 4 or 5, and I don't want to point out any particular person of you here that are very strong in a physical sense where psychic force and energy is concerned. And drawing upon you individually enables us to continue and to build up. And possibly, we hope, things may happen, as I've already said, that you have not been anticipating or expecting, but which we feel are helpful and interesting and unusual. And I do urge you to consider very strongly your taking of photographs, because what you do not see with the eye at the time when you sit, you may receive on the film of the camera. This has been proven over many years by different people. I know that you say, well, that is all very interesting and we are very grateful for anything you can do or achieve. But I have been with this instrument since the very beginning. We had problems. I do not make a habit, as I've said, of coming regularly, but in the early years I was very much associated, and then I realized the others that had come around, that we had selected, would carry on and be able to do the work, which you see, in a sense, is on, I do not misunderstand what I'm going to say, on a lower level, to reach out to people in your world who are bereaved, who are sad, who need something to give them upliftment and conviction. Certain souls on this side, to do that work, have to concentrate all that time, in a sense, on the material. That does not mean to say that they do not have their life over here, and they do not continue to experience the things of the spirit in a spiritual sense. But to do the work with any medium, I'm not saying it is a sacrifice, because we do not see things in that way. But we have to be very close to the medium. We have to be very much associated with the medium. We have to understand the medium. We have to accept his foibles where they exist, or certain things that we ourselves may not be too happy about in the person's private life. It is not for us to judge, and we have to make good as best we can with what the clay provides. We have to mold, and we have to try to do what we can do as best we can do it, and build. And the medium is the clay. And you know, I don't think people understand very well sometimes in your world what is entailed to be an instrument or to be a medium, whether it is one that does the work of the spirit quietly and humbly, perhaps among a few friends in his or her home, or whether it is in what you refer to as a professional sense or way. It is very difficult, especially where the material side of things enters and monetary things are having to be considered. I am not here to say anything untoward. I think, looking back, knowing the early stages, the early years, a great deal has been done. A great deal has been achieved. Many, many peoples have been helped and comforted and uplifted and given a new strength to face life on your side of life, whatever it may present to the individual. The knowledge that their loved ones are not dead, that they one day will be reunited with that one, or whoever it may be, that meant so much to them. But unless it infuses the individual on your side to serve and to try to forget oneself in serving, as long as it does not make them depend too much on us, but learn to depend to some extent upon themselves. You know, we lift you over, as it were, style. But you know, it depends on you individually as to what you do when you get into the open field. There are many things that you can do. When you are needed, are you ready to serve? Are you ready to forget yourself? Are you ready to give of yourself, knowing that the ones that you have known and loved who are over here are behind you, helping you, if they can, in whatever way it is possible. We want you to treat yourselves to the realization of what this is all about. It is not a selfish thing. It is not something that you can take unto yourself and retain and not open up to others whose hearts are heavy laden. You can comfort them. They may not accept what you say. They may not believe of your experiences. They may even think that you are a little odd or peculiar. That doesn't really matter. The seed that is sown doesn't always bear fruit immediately. Sometimes takes a long time. And sometimes, of course, the weeds around the person in question kill the blossoming seed. But you, my dear friends, have come to truth. There are times when, because you are human and still encased in flesh, and when you have to come up against all manner and kind of things which cause you undue worry or concern materially, you strive desperately to hold on, which of course you do. But you know, there are those in what you term spiritualism, and we look down into your world and we see what some of them are doing with this great truth, and it causes us great concern. Of course, our task, as I've already said, is to comfort those who mourn and to heal the sick and the suffering of mind and of body where possible. But we're not infallible. We cannot do everything. Indeed, there are things perhaps we cannot do, and indeed there are things we are not even allowed to do. But you know, we get very depressed when we see all that we have endeavored to do over many of your earthly years twisted and turned into something which is far removed from the truth of life eternal. But I'm not here to make condemnation. I love, or try to love, as I should say, everyone. It's not always easy, whether it is in your world or this. There are people on this side of life who are very, very, well, heavy laden themselves without perhaps even realizing why they're heavy laden. They do not look up to the lights, and they move in dark places. Now, I'm not saying there is a hell. The only hell that there is within oneself. The hell of remorse. And that is perhaps with some people very, very strong. They cannot see because they will not see. And they cling to the worst aspect of self. And there are peoples who are not unhappy peoples, but live in an environment which they have contributed or created. Like, to some extent, obviously, will attract like. And there are peoples on this side who are on a lower vibration or a lower condition of life, which, though they may not first of all realize it, they have brought into being by themselves, by their thoughts, and later by their actions. But for all God's children, there is hope. There is redemption. There is the realization of being able to climb out of the mire into the light and the truth. You know, my friends, No one is perfect. Many a soul that comes here sees perhaps themselves for the very first time as they truly are. And since none of us are perfect, we have to gradually expand our vision and become more conscious and more aware of the better aspects, not only of self, but of the things that lie higher, above the mundane and the mire. You know, my friends, it had not even been my intention to come here tonight to talk to you, but certain friends, people that I have known over a very long period, and because of my interest in the instrument, to whom I came, I don't know how many years it is in your time, half a century of your time at least it must be, and I was interested in the possibility of the instrument and the capability that was there, dormant, latent, waiting to be brought out and opened up and developed and used. And when I saw eventually the promise being fulfilled, indeed taken over by friends who I have great regard and respect for, and knowing of their capability, now we talk, at least I will talk to you, about the one you call Mickey. Mickey, huh? What a name, what a character, what a personality. But that's not the real Mickey. That is the Mickey of many years ago. He comes back in that fashion for an obvious reason, to release tension. When you have a group of people together, all very tensed up, anxious, anticipating personal things, it's essential to have this personality that you refer to as Mickey. That was a Mickey of long ago. He reconstructs temporarily his old personality. He will laugh and he will joke, and sometimes he'll be very naughty and say certain things which he knows later he should not have said. But then again, if you exert yourself to reproduce yourself in the old way, in the material sense, and knowing the background and the upbringing of Mickey, it is not the easiest thing, once he's exerted his personality, to always perhaps say, or to even put into words anyway, certain things that he perhaps should not say. But you know, there again, what is it that matters? He serves, he works. He's a very old soul. Now, I could go into reincarnation. I could discuss with you not only Mickey, but other persons that I know of who come to you. And indeed, I could discuss yourselves. I am not saying that in every instance everyone is a reincarnation. I am not saying that everyone returns to the earth. But there are exceptional instances where people choose to come back. Or maybe sometimes they are sent back, because it is essential that they either do a specific work that is set out for them to do, which will be helpful to mankind of that particular era in time, or maybe that there are certain things that can only be learned on your side. I told you about the lower parts of our world, that is, places where certain people sometimes have to go because they have created a situation which demands that they go into that environment. It's not necessarily a terribly bad one, and possibly to some other people it is not a sad one, and indeed some find it a happy state. A lot will depend on each individual. But you know, there are many, many worlds. This is another thing that people don't understand. You know of the spirit world in part. You know of certain sources from which peoples come. But what you do not know, there is not only one or two or three or four different levels of consciousness or worlds. There are so many that it's impossible to state, because all life is continuous. There is nothing static in life, in being. There must always be progression. There must always be change. There is no such thing as being static. Life is movement. Life is change. New experience. New horizons to reach up to. And in a sense, I suppose it would be true to say, although I talk about various worlds or states of being, it is all one world on different levels. I mean, you look into the heavens and you see stars, you see states of being. On some there is no life as you understand it, but there is still a form of life, and on the higher realms there is a life so far removed from anything you know, and whether eventually we shall overcome certain barriers, and perhaps even in your world certain peoples, by their effort to experience things, stretching out as they do into, I was going to use the word void, but there is life all around you, not just in your world, all around you there is life. It may not be the form and shape of man, but there is life far removed from anything you know. And I'm not just talking on this occasion about what you refer to as the spirit world as such. You know, the vastness of what is around and about you is beyond your comprehension. And there would be no way in which even I or anyone else could quite depict or describe. But you know, all life is energy, all life is movement, all life is change. And there is no such thing, in a sense, of what you call a solidity. Of course, you can say, well, I am solid, I'm sitting on a chair that is solid, I'm sitting in a room that is solid, etc., etc. But it is more than that. It's vibration. You are in tune with the situation in which you find yourself. But you know, there are some people in your world who've had experiences. I'm not referring to spiritualists particularly, or mediums, who've had experiences which have puzzled them, which they couldn't understand, when they were aware, in a sense, that what was their body was not really them. It was the house in which they existed or exist when they're out of the body and during your sleep. Do you not know that oft times you are leaving your earthly body temporarily? It may only be a split second of your time, but in many of your conditions of sleep, you are entering on various levels different places in the realm of the spirit. Now, people often say to me, or have said, where you live, where you come from, do you have houses? And some have even said, do you have shops? Do you have this or do you have that? Now, let me explain this to you. We are not living in a dream world. We are living in a reality, because we are harmonizing with the conditions in which we find ourselves. And if you are on a lower mental state of being, you will find, while you are still tuning in or part of that condition, you will find some of the things that you feel are essential or necessary. Fortunately, most people only exist temporarily in that environment. But we have, I suppose, places which you could compare with your world. Yes, of course. But they are not exactly illusory. They are realities, while the individuals themselves hold on to the memory and the thought force of those things. We have theatres, and we have what you refer to as hostels, where sometimes people are taken to rest, to relax, and gradually acclimatize themselves to their new state of being. But in most instances, of course, when a person dies, at the point of death, there is invariably someone near and dear to them to help them, to welcome them over, and they take them to their condition of life in which they are living, to help them and to assure them that all is well. But you know, there are a lot of things which I think people are puzzled about. You may have a happily married couple in your world, and obviously when one of the partners dies, the other hopes eventually, when the time comes, to be reunited. And of course this invariably does happen. But there are other situations where two people have gone through an earthly existence, making the best of the circumstances that they have created. But they are not necessarily deeply involved, emotionally, or in any way, certainly not spiritually. And that does not mean to say that when they come here, they have to be together, which is probably for some a kind of blessing. But what I'm trying to say very badly, you know, I was with this instrument when he was, what, 15, 16, and I've seen a gradual progression, taking it, as it were, by and large, I think you have an expression. I am very happy about it, and what he has done, or what has been done through him, and been achieved. And I am very anxious because I am coming back at the tail end, in a sense, to know that the work will continue. It may not be quite as it once was, but nevertheless the power of the Spirit is such that it can and it will overcome all difficulties and all problems. We shall be with him at the time of his passing, and I know that although he will be missed for various reasons, there is cause to rejoice, as indeed one should always rejoice when someone has achieved something of merit, particularly if it is something that has been done for the benefit and the comfort and the joy of others, whether it is a great musician or whoever it happens to be, who has given his or her life to bring joy and happiness to peoples. There are many forms of healing. There are many forms of mediumship. We are grateful that we have had this opportunity to serve. And as you leave here tonight, I want you to know that how grateful we are to you, that you support our instrument, that you come together in the hope of being able to receive something truly of the Spirit, which may be of value to others beside yourselves. I shall come, perhaps if I can, again, but there are others here who have a greater say, in a sense, of the work that is still yet to be hoped to be done. What I told you earlier, don't be surprised. And I'm not saying it's going to be, but the possibility is there because of the strength that you bring together in love and in harmony and in psychic force and energy. We may be able to achieve something. Don't forget what I have told you in this respect. Anyway, my friends, we have to go. Mickey gives a little message and says he sends his love and blessing to you, and he had deliberately stood aside so that I, after many years, am enabled to come and say a few words to you. Bless you, and may indeed each one of you find that strength that is so necessary and essential to carry on in your world in spite of the problems and difficulties, to do the things that truly are the spirit. And I have also been told to say a little word to George. I know for you it is a great problem and a great sadness about your son. I am not going to make any statement other than to say that everything that is possible is being done and will be done to help. And I would like to say that we have confidence, though it may not yet be possible to bring it fully to fruition. There will be change for the better. Anyway, I have to go. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Please come again.